Today we are going to start the third section of the second chapter, that is mechanical properties of fluid. Now that third section of this chapter is hydrodynamics. Now what is this hydrodynamics? Hydrodynamics is the branch of physics in which there is a study of fluids which are in motion. It is a branch of physics in which there is a study of fluids which are in motion. Now we know the motion of the fluid is of two types. One is streamline flow, another one is a turbulent flow. Now again there are different names of these flows. The streamline flow is also called a steady flow. This is called a unsteady flow. This is also called a laminar flow. This is also called a eddies or whirlpools. This flow is also called a regular flow, or this is called irregular flow. Now these are the different names of these two motions. One is streamline motion and another one is a turbulent motion. Now we have to study in this chapter about this streamline flow mainly, and just we introduce this turbulent flow. What are the characteristics of the turbulent flow comparing to the streamline flow? Now here we study about the streamline flow and turbulent flow first. What is turbulent flow? What is streamline flow? Now the streamline flow is also called a regular flow. It is also called a steady flow. Okay. Now what is the characteristics of the streamline flow? Now if you consider a flow tube, suppose this is a tube, flow tube, we call it as a flow tube. Now there is a flow of fluid inside this tube. This is the flow, or this is the motion of the fluid inside this flow tube. Now these are the two surfaces of the tube, and by using these two boundaries, we call it as boundaries, within these two boundaries we can find the flow of the fluid inside this tube. Okay, now here these lines are called the flow lines. These lines are called the flow lines. Now this flow is passing through the cross-sectional area. Passing through the cross-section, and it leaves out through the cross-section. Now we have to flow, or we have to pass this fluid inside this tube now. Now what is the streamline flow? Now the streamline flow is nothing but the velocity of these particles of the fluid are constant at a given time. Suppose if you consider this cross-sectional area and the fluid particles are passing through this cross-section. Now at this cross-section the velocity of all the particles are constant and it is independent of time. But the particles of the velocity of the particles other than this cross section is not same as much this velocity. it is different for the next cross section area. Now this V is not equal to this for this cross section area. It is different for the different cross section area, and again it is independent of the time. Okay. Now again, now if we see the flow of the fluid, it is in the form of layers. It is in the form of layers. Now this is layer, this is another layer, this layer, this layer, this layer, one above the other. And the layer which is along this surface, the layer which is along this surface is at rest. The flow of fluid along this layer or along this surface is rest. Now again, if we see the main characteristics of this flow is that this flow is a regular flow and it is just like a straight line. Okay, now this is just like a straight line, and all the particles are traveling along this line, and here the tangential force is applied. Tangential force, by this tangential force, these particles forward in the tube. Now when these particles travels along this line, then it obeys the Newton's law. Newton's law of viscous force. Newton's law of viscous force. Now these are the main characteristics of the streamlined flow. First main characteristic is what? The velocity of the particles of a given cross section at a time is always constant in a given area of cross section. Second characteristic is that velocity is not constant other than this cross section, it will be the different. Then again, the layer which is along the surface, suppose this layer or this layer, which is confined by the flow, the layer which is along this surface is at rest. There is no velocity of the particles along this surface, ideally it is zero, and the particles which are traveling along these lines are obey the Newton's law of viscous force. Now again, what is this viscous force? Now we will draw the lines here, these flow lines. Suppose these are the lines, and suppose this is the surface. If you consider the surface, okay, then the line which is along this surface is at rest. The line above this surface is this, again neighboring to this, one above the other. If we see or if we observe that the velocity of this line which is nearer to this surface is minimized, but it is greater than the velocity of this rest line. Again, the velocity of the upper layer is greater than this lower layer. Again, the velocity of the upper layer of this layer is greater than this layer. It means that the upper layer of this fluid is dragged to the lower layer. It drags. It drags to the lower layer. Why drags? Because there is an internal friction between these two layers. Here, the internal frictional force. There is internal frictional force between these two layers, and due to this internal frictional layer, this upper layer drags to the lower layer, and this dragging force is called a viscous force. This dragging force is called a viscous force. It is actually the internal frictional force. Due to this internal frictional force, this upper layer drags to the lower layer, and this dragging force is called a viscous force. Now this viscous force obeys the Newton's law. Newton's law of viscous force. Now again the next term is that, now if you consider the velocity of this layer is suppose v, then what will be the velocity of this layer? It is certainly greater than this velocity, and if you consider that difference is suppose delta dv, If the velocity of this layer is v, then the velocity of upper layer is suppose v plus dv. It is increases, or there is an increment of the velocity by dv. If you consider the lower layer of this layer, then what will be the velocity? Vector v minus dv. V minus dv. But we consider the increasing layer or increment of the layers, then there is an increment of the velocities of the layers as above the layers. Now, if you consider the distance, a vertical distance from the base layer, suppose the distance of this layer is x, then distance of this upper layer is suppose x plus dx. Now there is a vertical distance, it is perpendicular to the horizontal line, perpendicular to the each layer, and it is increases by dx. Now for the increase in distance dx, there is an increase in velocity dv. Now we can write it as dv by dx. For increase in distance from the lower layer, there is an increase in velocity by dv. Now this is called a velocity gradient. This is called a velocity gradient. dv by dx. Rate of flow of fluid with respect to distance is called a velocity gradient. Now the unit of the velocity gradient is, suppose the velocity, unit of the velocity is meter upon second into distance is meter, then unit of this velocity gradient is per second. Unit of the velocity gradient is per second. Now this is about the velocity gradient. Understand? The velocity gradient is nothing but the rate of flow of fluid, or rate of velocity with respect to distance. Now this is velocity gradient. Now this is all about the streamline flow. Now if you consider, this is the velocity of the fluid, and by using this velocity it travels along the tube. And suppose that this is the flow of the fluid and there is an obstacle near the inside. There is an obstacle in the flow of fluid. Then what will happen? This flow again travels in straight line here, in this way. Again there is a flow of fluid, and again it travels in straight line. But suppose that if there is an obstacle and if this velocity is not continuously in straight line, if it is turned, then what is this? These are just like eddies, circular. It means it does not obey the straight line path. It curves and it performs, or it has an angular velocity omega. At that time, that flow of the fluid is called a turbulent flow. It is called a turbulent flow. Again we can say that the velocity at which, it is a certain velocity at which the streamline flow will become a turbulent flow. It has a velocity at which the streamline flow will become a turbulent flow, and that velocity is called a critical velocity. That velocity is called a critical velocity. At the critical velocity, the streamline flow will become a turbulent flow. It does not obey the straight line path, and it has a random motion. It is an irregular motion, and that flow will be the unsteady flow, and therefore it is called unsteady or irregular flow, or just like eddies. Now this is called the turbulent flow. Here the velocity does not constant at any point, at any instant, and does not obey the Newton's law of viscous force. Now this is called the turbulent flow. Now at the turbulent flow, the velocity does not constant. Now this is about the streamline flow and turbulent flow. Now next is, just we see that the critical velocity. What is critical velocity? Critical velocity it is a certain velocity at which the streamline flow will become a turbulent flow. That is called the critical velocity. Now this critical velocity can be calculated by using the formula V of c is equal to r by n eta upon r by n is a Reynolds number upon rho into d, where Vc is the critical velocity. Vc is the critical velocity. R of n is the Reynolds number. Reynolds number. Then eta is coefficient of viscosity, that we will see in the next topic, viscosity. Then rho is the density of the liquid or fluid, density of fluid, and d is the diameter of the tube in which that flow is flowing, diameter of the flow tube. Okay, now by using this formula we can calculate the critical velocity. This formula can be rearranging from the Reynolds number. R of n is equal to Vc rho d upon eta. By using this formula we can calculate the Reynolds number. What is the use of Reynolds number? Why we have to calculate the Reynolds number? Now if we make this calculation, if we get the number, because this is the number, if this Reynolds number is less than 1000, is less than 1000. Suppose this calculation we get the less than 1000, then we can conclude that this flow is a streamline flow. By using this Reynolds number, we can decide either their flow is streamline or turbulent. If this number is less than 1000, then that flow is a streamline. If Reynolds number is greater than 2000, then that flow is a turbulent flow. That flow is a turbulent flow. Okay. Now, if it is in between 1000 to 2000, this flow changes or it transits from streamline to turbulent flow. If this number is in between 1000 to 2000, then that flow just transits from streamline to the turbulent flow. Now this is the significance of this Reynolds number. By using this Reynolds number, we can identify either that flow is streamline or turbulent, or at what value it will become the turbulent. Now this is about the Reynolds number and critical velocity. Now most important property in the hydrodynamics or the fluids in motion is a viscosity. Viscosity is an important property for the hydrodynamics. Viscosity. Viscosity is one of the property of fluid in motion. In daily life, we always observe some examples. If we pour the water in a tube, okay, water in a tube, then it moves fast inside the tube. But if we pour this same tube as a syrup or oil, then it flows slowly. Its velocity is very slow, and it flows slowly, and its velocity is very small or less than the water. Now there is a difference between these two. Water goes fast and syrup goes slow. Now these are the two different fluids. One is syrup and another is water. Why this is so? When we study about the laminar flow or streamline flow, then we see that there is a layers. There is a layers of the liquid, and in between the layers there is a internal friction. There is a internal friction. That internal friction we call it as a dragging force, or we call it as a viscous force. what we call viscous force. Now this viscous force, if the viscous force is greater between the layers, then the dragging force is greater, and therefore the velocity decreases of the above layers. Now this layer, this is for the viscous fluids, and if the viscosity of the viscous force is very small or negligible, then there is no change in the layers. That layer is continuously in the same level, and that internal friction is zero, and therefore there is no dragging force. That type of the liquids or that type of the fluids are called a non-viscous, and such type of the fluids are called the viscous fluids. Now we see the examples of the viscous fluids are syrup, honey, oil, etc. But the examples of non-viscous, they are very rare example. That is the liquid helium. Liquid helium, it is at 2 Kelvin. It is at 2 Kelvin. This liquid is a non-viscous. There is no internal friction between the layers. Now this type of the fluids are called the non-viscous fluids, and where there is an internal friction or dragging force or viscous force, then that type of the fluids are called the viscous fluids. Now according to this, there is a Newton's law. You know the velocity gradient, that is dV by dx. Velocity gradient. Velocity gradient is dV by dx. That we know. Now, we have to state the Newton's law of viscosity. Newton's law of viscosity. What is Newton's law of viscosity? Newton's law of viscosity is stated for the viscous force. Now, the viscous force V, F of V, viscous force is directly proportional to the velocity gradient dV by dx. Again, it is directly proportional to the area of cross section, that is the area of cross section of the flow tube, and this is the dV by dx, that is the velocity gradient. By combining this equation, we can write f of v is directly proportional to a into dV by dx. A into dV by dx. Now we can write it as f is equal to eta a dV by dx. Now here eta, this is a constant. Eta is a constant of proportionality, and now this eta is called the coefficient of viscosity. Coefficient of viscosity. Now viscosity, we know the viscosity is the property of the fluid. It is the property of the fluid by virtue of which the relative motion between the two different layers of a fluid experiences a dragging force or internal force or a viscous force. That is the property of viscosity. Now that eta is equal to coefficient of viscosity, we can rearrange this equation for eta. Eta is equal to F upon A into dV by dx. Eta is equal to F upon A into dV by dx. Now this is the F is the viscous force, A is the area of cross section of the flow tube, dV by dx is the velocity gradient. Now we can determine the SI unit of this coefficient of friction. SI unit of coefficient of friction is F is in Newton, area is in meter square, dV by dx is per second or meter upon second into meter. Now this meter and meter gets cancelled. Now this second goes in numerator, then Newton second per meter square. Newton second per meter square. Now it is also called as a poise, in the honor of the scientist Poise. Now the name of this unit is given poise, Newton second per meter square. CGS unit is die in second per centimeter square. This is the CGS unit of the viscosity. Now the viscosity depends on the area of cross section of the tube and the nature of the liquid. Again, you can determine the dimensions of this viscosity. Now dimensions of the force is what? M1, L1, T raised to minus 2 upon the dimensions of area is L2, and dimensions of velocity gradient is M1, M0, L1, T raised to minus 1 upon L1. Now this L1 and L1 gets cancelled, T raised to minus 1. Therefore, M1, L2 goes to numerator, L raised to minus 1. T goes upward here, T raised to minus 1. Then M1, L raised to minus 1, T raised to minus 1. These are the dimensions of coefficient of viscosity. Now, this is about the Newton's law of viscosity. What is the statement of Newton's law of viscosity? The viscous force of a incompressible or ideal fluid. This is the condition for the streamline flow. The fluid should be the streamline or ideal fluid. For a streamline flow, the viscous force here is directly proportional to the velocity gradient, and again it is directly proportional to the area of cross section. Now this is the statement of Newton's law of viscosity. Now by simplifying this equation, there is a proportionality constant eta, that is coefficient of viscosity. Therefore F is equal to eta A into dV by dx. Now this is eta is the coefficient of viscosity. Rearranging this equation for eta, then eta is equal to F upon A into dV by dx. By to determine the dimensions of this coefficient of viscosity, now M1, L raised to minus 1, T raised to minus 1 are the dimensions of the viscosity. The SI unit of the viscosity is, what is SI unit of viscosity? Newton second per meter square, or it is also called a Poids. Now this is all about the Newton's law of viscosity. Okay. Bye.